All right, let's see if I still have vlog energy in me. I miss content creation, so I wanted to take you guys along with me on my garden journey this year, or try to do my darndest. So this is the first weekend I can start seeds. For context, for those who are interested in like the actual details, I'm in zone, I think it's technically 5 now, 5C or A. We're on the cusp of zone 4. I always previously looked for hardiness in my plants in zone 4. So in my head, that's what I'm still living in. It's zone 4, but you know, global warming and all that goodness. So today I have some goodies. I have some stuff that I've gotten in years prior, but I do have a couple new things that I ordered, and also just fair warning, Jim and Valkyrie are probably gonna insert themselves in this video whenever they can. But I've got some new seeds this year, as well as some old school stuff that I'm kind of either revisiting. We're gonna see how we do. I always struggle with peppers, and that's a lot of what we're starting today, so we'll see how it goes. I've got my like garden, like greenhouse tent, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, set up in our basement bathroom because it's a bit smaller space, less likely to be used a whole lot, so it's not really in the way down there. And when we close the door, it gets nice and toasty, so that'll be a good place to keep, especially something like peppers, really content. I also splurged on some, one of my favorite gardening channels is Epic Gardening. Oh my god, Jimmy, get away. So I splurged on some trays from their site. So like starter trays, and then also we've got their, like, what's the term I'm looking for? The basin, I guess, that they all sit in below it. I got some pretty pink ones. So these are, no, Valkyrie, you do not want to drink that. Get away, stinky. These are like a smaller 6 cell, which honestly is probably more conventional. These quad cell ones are probably a little bit overkill, but I'm going to start my peppers in there just to see if they can kind of take the extra space and use that to their advantage. Give them a, you know, running start. It takes a while to get to our actual like outdoor transplant date in Minnesota. Usually it's the weekend of Mother's Day. You're pretty safe to do that. So I just want to make sure that they're comfy until then, because obviously it's February and it says that these need 8 to 10 weeks to get started and really get to the point where you can transplant them outside. So without further ado, I have some eggplant seeds. So these are Jewel Amethyst. This was like a container eggplant. I did try to start this last year to no avail. It didn't really kick off that great. But I also was a mother to a newborn this time last year, so I'm trying to give myself grace and recognize, like, hey, last year it was just a hobby. It wasn't for being prolific or productive, really. I've got a couple spicy peppers as well. So, like, we've got a cayenne pepper, a poblano pepper, and then a Jamaican yellow mushroom pepper. I got a bunch of purple peppers last year. Jimmy. And then we've got a purple bell pepper. This is like a darker purple. And then this one is supposed to be a lilac bell pepper. A lot of these are from another channel I like to follow, which is Mi Gardener. What I like about buying seeds from them is everything, every seed packet that you purchase is $2. Just $2. And they just, you know, portion out accordingly, whatever $2 worth of seeds is. There you go. Usually you do not need a whole thing of seeds, and you know, they become technically less and less productive every year, or you know, oh my god, Jimmy, you end up with a lower chance of like germinating, right? So that's when like the little sprouts come out. And then let's go through the rest of the peppers really quick. Actually, I've also got a sweet pepper that's called a Costa Rican sweet hybrid. If I remember right, I think this will be orange. This is just a Burpee seed purchase. Actually, I'll interject quick since we talked about eggplants. I got from Epic Gardening, they have like seed series or packs, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. And this one I wound up going for Jacques in the Gardens series of seeds that he put together, and they're all supposed to pack a lot of flavor. So we're gonna have a very flavorful garden this year, hopefully. So this one is just called Long Purple Eggplant. The other one is more of a container. This one I think is a conventional, like larger eggplant plant. And then back to the peppers, a couple more new ones. Jimmy Nardello sweet peppers. If I remember right, I think this was one that is really common for making paprika. So we can try drying these and grinding them up and making our own paprika this year. Otherwise, honestly, like we love roasting peppers and adding it to like mac and cheese and like soups and stuff like that too. So we might just roast them and save them in a jar for that. And then this one it also came in that flavor pack. Biquino, red and yellow blend. And this one notes, I think this is a spicy. Yes, so they start tangy and sweet and they're followed by a touch of heat. They are also apparently really good pickled. So we can like garnish drinks and stuff like that with them apparently. So I can imagine they're really good in like a martini, or if you wanted to make maybe like a spicy margarita, that'd be good. And then I have an herb to start, summer savory, which I don't know if I've even tried savory, other than, maybe you go to a restaurant and, something is flavored with savory, but never explicitly. I don't think I've ever bought it in, the seasoning aisle or anything along those lines. So I'm excited to give this one a shot as well. There is also winter savory, apparently, which I think is maybe a little bit more hardy and would be perennial in warmer areas, but around here, most herbs are going to be annual unless you like really, really nurture them. Like mint will sort of reseed itself around here. Supposedly lavender you can overwinter if you insulate it a little bit, but otherwise pretty much all herbs are just annual in your garden in Minnesota. And then last but not least, I want to start up some more hollyhocks. So these guys I've started, I think actually 2 years ago. And the plants came back last year, but they did not flower last year. Hollyhocks grow like big, huge, and tall, and they're really great for pollinators. So that was the draw, is I want a couple of big flowers at the front of our house to pull like birds. We get hummingbirds around here, and then of course the bees. But this one is, I think it's technically just called Watchman hollyhocks, and this is from Renee's garden. My local spot is Gerton's for getting like seeds and plants for the most part. At least that's where I like to go versus, sometimes you stop at Home Depot is decent. I haven't had good luck with plants from Menards, so I like sticking to my local spot. But that's a purchase from Gerton's. As far as actually getting these planted, I'm going to be using, honestly, this is probably a bit of a conglomerate mix of a couple years prior of like seed starting ingredients. There's definitely perlite. You can see the perlite in here. That's the super light white stuff. A lot of people think that it's like styrofoam because it floats in water and that sort of thing. It's not, I promise. It is a natural like rock, basically just a very, very light rock. I also have vermiculite in here, which if you see any like little sparkles, I don't know if the light will really catch that, but has a little bit of a sparkle to it. And then there's a good amount of peat moss, probably some coconut coir in there somewhere. And honestly, there might be like residual potting mix, who knows. So I've got that packed into these new seed starting trays. I've got everything quite wet at this point. I like to make sure that I first kind of pack things down as best I can. You don't want air pockets in your seed starting space. That's the most like kind of critical thing, at least for me. Like obviously you want to make sure you've got good drainage and that sort of thing, but like your seeds won't germinate if they don't remain wet, basically. So you don't want to run the risk of having air pockets where the soil is really going to dry out there, and also it is not great for your roots. Once they start to develop, they need water, obviously, to sustain themselves. Something I'm trying different this year is adding a little bit of just an organic fertilizer into the seed starting mix. I just got like a tomato and vegetable mix, so that the seedlings have something to feed off of, just because again, like these are gonna be in my basement downstairs, and like I've got grow lights and I've got a fan in there and that sort of thing, but you know, to have some sustenance for them to feed off of once they start developing and get past their little seedling sprouts, I figure should probably do them some good. Yeah, I mean, without further ado, let's proceed. Maybe I'll insert some, you know, B-roll here of my cats and stuff. So let's see here, the peppers. How deep are these ones supposed to go? So 1/4 inch deep. I'm gonna assume that that's what we want for pretty much all of these. Yeah, 1/4 inch. I'm gonna do all of our bell peppers together, or all of our sweet peppers, I should say, together, and then all of our spicy peppers. I've got these quads, so they'll divvy out really nicely that way. Spicy and sweet. I'm labeling with popsicle sticks this year. I have like a bunch of the little plastic strips as well, but I just find like they're usually too small anyway. Like they're very short, and it's nice to have something that can actually stick in the soil a little bit further. But also like they're plastic. So having wood would probably be a little bit better. That way if I do want to leave them out in the garden, I don't have to be so I guess guilty about leaving a funky little stick of plastic out in the front yard to, you know, contribute to not pollution, what's the word I'm looking for? But yeah, that way I'm not leaving any plastic out in the garden. So summer savory, I want to do 4 of those just because I want to be able to pop it all over the place. I like having lots of herbs in the garden because it usually helps repel pests as well. So I'm going to stop and think about how I'm going to orient this in my seed starting space. So I want to make sure that I'm facing all of my labels the same direction so I can easily reference them from like one angle, because I can basically only see them from the front. Let's see, so summer savory will take up 4. We'll do eggplants in this one. I know I want my hollyhock in the big square standalone, because I'm just going to kind of honestly probably dump a lot of what's left in the hollyhock pouch or container of seeds there. Packet. I don't know, I feel like I'm saying repetitive words in a way that doesn't make sense right now. Let's see, Bikino was one of the spicy peppers, so I'll pop that one here. I'm just doing 1 of each, or aiming to have 1 of each plant. Something else to keep in mind if you're ever approaching peppers and growing peppers is if you do both spicy and sweet, you want to make sure that they stay separate from each other if you will be saving seeds from them the subsequent year. So if you're looking to do that whole like heirloom seed thing where you preserve your own seeds, make sure that they don't cross-pollinate, because like if spicy and sweet peppers cross-pollinate, you'll have the next year your like sweet peppers will taste spicy and your spicy peppers will be mild, and it just kind of throws off their genetics, which is kind of cool in a way. Like if you wanted to, you could have a nice little, you know, experiment, I guess, out of that. But, you know, not really desired if you want to be confident in what you're planting in your garden. So as I'm inserting these, I am also double checking that everything seems to be pressed down pretty firmly. And then what I'll do with all the peppers is I have this little, here it is, like kind of measuring stick, and it has little indicators on it to help me determine, like, right about here is going to be the 1/4 inch mark, a little bit lower than that because I'm a little high up. But yeah, that like bottom portion from, you know, basically the width of my finger is going to be that 1/4 inch deep that I want to pop all these peppers in. Let's see, the Jamaican ones, those were spicy, right? Yeah. I feel like I've seen these Jamaican peppers in like other videos. I don't know if they're like a pickled spicy pepper usually, but they are a funny little, like, I don't know, they call them the Jamaican yellow mushroom pepper because they're sort of bulbous, which I feel like I always visualize peppers as, you know, spicy peppers at least, as that kind of conventional jalapeno or like chili pepper flavor, that conventional chili pepper or like jalapeno shape where it's a little bit more pointed versus like bell peppers, mild peppers. I usually assume like, oh yeah, that's going to be kind of more bulbous. All right, so we're going to check again, like I said, for air pockets, because we don't want that. Something else I'm excited to try for the first time myself, at least I've never planted them in my garden. We got some potato, like seed potatoes. I don't know how great, like we live in a city, or not a city, I guess technically it is a city, just kidding. But anyway, we're in a little bit more population dense zone. So something I have to bear in mind is like for instance, like when gasoline was leaded, that lead could end up just in the soil from, you know, burning that fuel in a given neighborhood and driving by. So I have to be conscious of like my root vegetables and that sort of thing. If I'm planting it out front, I pretty much want to plant it in potting soil. I haven't gotten the soil tested, so I don't know what sort of like heavy metals or things like that might be in the soil. So I've got some grow bags as well that I just got this year. It'll be my first time doing grow bags. I've done like container gardening. That's kind of how I started. I did container, I did some peppers my first year, but mostly like tomatoes. Like I feel like everybody who starts, like you do tomatoes and they are usually quite prolific. So it's very gratifying as a new gardener to pop some tomatoes in the garden because they'll produce quite a lot for you, whether you're snacking or, you know, wanting to preserve them for soups and sauces and that sort of thing too. But I haven't explored root vegetables quite as much. I've got some carrots to do this year as well. I've done radishes, and honestly I think I let them go too far because they usually get really spicy. But I'm going to give all the root veggies a little bit more attention this year because they also they preserve quite easily. And I want to try to be gardening with more of an aim to actually garden and grow the things that I eat, and then we can, you know, preserve them. I'm curious to try doing something like oats or other grains as well. I think wheat is actually one that's really not too hard to grow around Minnesota, at least what I've seen. It's also usually pretty aesthetic, I guess, right? Like if you think of your typical wheat blowing in the wind and that sort of thing. So it might actually make for kind of a pretty spot. Let's get these peppers in. So basically, the tiniest bit is 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to give it a little pop. And I will drop, aside from my new seeds, I'll probably just do 2. But some of my older seeds, where I'm using them from years prior, I will pop probably 3 or maybe even 4 seeds in, just to ensure that I'm going to get a germinated plant, because nothing would stink more than doing all this setup and then, oh, I couldn't even get the seeds to come up, you know. Let's see, how deep do the eggplants have to go? Eggplants are also 1/4. Hollyhocks are 1/2 inch, so that's a little bit deeper. And the savory is just a surface, so okay. So those ones are unique, but everything else is basically just 1/4 inch in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make all my little seed pockets here in the center of my cells. And then, yeah, savory doesn't need it. The hollyhock, I think, is a bit bigger seed, if I remember correctly, but let's do 4 of these guys. A little bit deeper there. I need to figure out a way to do some B-roll while I'm filming, get my other phone set up or something so you guys can see this angle and also talk to me. I just had to buy a new phone, which was, you know, fine. Not the greatest timing, and it wasn't because, you know, I just wanted a new phone. It was because the camera, the glass over the camera on my old iPhone just shattered. I don't know if I sat on it or what happened exactly, but I'm I have a little guy right now. He's a little over a year, and if he gets his hands on my phone, it's hard to get it back. So I really don't want anything that could be hazardous to his hands on my phone or on my person at any time, really. Let's see. Here's the yellow mushroom pepper. Let's double check. I've got my spicy peppers on the right-hand side here. So this one I've had for a couple years, so I'm gonna do, let's see, 4 came out. Is that just the last of this packet? Or I think I might have, yeah, then there'll be a few for next year too. Cool, cool. Pop 4 in. And what you do is once everything germinates, you let it do its thing for a little bit, and then you go in and you just thin out. You pull out any of the, or trim, depending upon how sensitive your plant's roots are, which your seed packet and, a little bit of research will tell you as much. If they, are prone to being a little picky about disturbances, then you would want to trim anything that comes up above and beyond your kind of strongest seedling, right? But that won't be for probably a week or 2. I think these can take a while to germinate. Yeah, 10 to 21 days for a lot of these. So, also, fun little thing, I got a photo, these are I think for 3x6 photo storage containers, and they come in a set with an outer container as well. It's been awesome for organizing my seed packets in. All right, Jamaican yellow pepper, done. Let's do another spicy one. Let's get our poblano in here. I think poblanos are probably one of our favorites. I feel like they're one of the more commonly used and commonly found in grocery stores though too. Holy cow, there's a lot in here. I'm sure this, because it's a Burpee, I probably paid $4 or $5 for this one. This one is quite a bit older, so I might dump 6, honestly, just to make sure we get something. All right, poblano here. So I'm excited for this growing season just because last year I had a newborn. It was just hard to get out into the garden a whole lot because he would nurse frequently, and just obviously generally babies really want their mamas. And obviously, for the first year especially, I think probably forever with kids, but especially the first year, I was tired. I was really tired. So it was hard to get motivated sometimes to actually get out into the garden and work on stuff. I tried to focus a little bit more on just, I think we did some tomatoes, and I didn't do that well with my seed starts, I don't feel, last year. I was a little bit more oh, let's be chaotic and sprinkle stuff into the containers, see what comes up. I do feel like it prompted me to explore flowers a little bit more. I haven't explicitly grown a lot of flowers before, so that was really fun. Oh, hey, okay, so this is the Bikino Red, or Bikino, I don't know. I can't tell for sure what they're going for there. Red and yellow blend. So it's funny, the seeds actually do, let's see if you can see those in there. They are a little bit tinted, so there's some that are kind of orangey and some that are white in there. So I'm going to make sure, do I maybe want to, I'm assuming they're going to grow differently, but maybe not. Maybe they're just harvested from some, I don't know. Let's just throw 1 red one and 1 yellow one in, I guess. We'll see what comes up. We will see. Let's see. Okay. All right, that one's done. And then last but not least, the purple cayenne pepper. This one is also from a prior year, so again, I'm going to do probably 4. Just to ensure we get germination on these. And once again, like I said, these MI Gardener packs are really nice. You don't need that many seeds usually as just a home gardener. So unless you are looking to split with a few other people, maybe you got a garden group, or I know I could probably split seeds with my mother-in-law and that sort of thing. We would, there's no way you're going to use up as many seeds that come in your conventional Burpee seed packet, right? So again, paying $2, it's fun to go on a little shopping spree and know no matter which seeds I'm picking, it's going to be $2 worth. They don't have quite as much variety, I don't feel like. But at the same time, sometimes I get like, I don't know, executive dysfunction too when I have too many options to choose from. It's like, what do I do? What do I nurture? And then you get into the middle of the summer and it's like, why have I planted so many things? I am so overwhelmed. Which, thankfully with outdoor gardening, you know, fertilize them, make sure they remain watered is probably the biggest thing, because in Minnesota we've got a lot of cold, but we also get a lot of heat in the summertime too. Or I should say when it is hot, it's quite hot. And like last year we had like a really dry summer for the most part, but then like the head of the season was quite damp and wet. So like we dealt with some mildew and that sort of thing. So I feel like it's almost like you're dealing more with like pests and stuff like that when you're in the garden, but also when it starts getting prolific, it can be like you feel a little bit wasteful if you can't use it all. Or can't get to it at least even, because I know we definitely let some stuff rot on the vine a little bit. Anyway, I think my grandpa's here, so I'm gonna say goodbye. Thanks for tuning in. I'll try to do this hopefully like a monthly thing, maybe a monthly vlog tap in, because I do miss tapping in with you guys. But anyway, till next time.